Hey, let's get to it. Like, subscribe, and comment, please. Love to hear from you. We're looking at 2 Kings 2020 in the Old Testament today. 2 Kings 2020. Just want to read a single verse for you from a modern English version. It says, "The rest of the deeds of Hezekiah, all his power, how he made a pool and a conduit and brought water into the city. Are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah?" So I want to talk about Hezekiah's tunnel and its importance today. It's kind of a Raiders of the Lost Ark type thing, right? We're talking about modern archaeology in many ways that give illumination and confirmation to biblical texts. So about 2,700 years ago, 722 BC, is where that verse comes from in 2 Kings 2020 on a timeline. It's an engineering feat, and archaeology has confirmed that it did exist. Well, what was Hezekiah's tunnel? Well, it was connecting a water source because there was a need of a water supply inside the city. So outside of the city of Jerusalem, the Gihon Springs were outside. And so Hezekiah put some engineers to dig this tunnel connecting this outside the walls spring, bringing it into the city, therefore allowing water to flow. Now, in 2004, there was a pool site that was found that confirms that, in essence, what made up the Siloam pool exists, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But prior to that, in 1880, there was an inscription found of some steps, and on this inscription, it gave us the information that we needed that connected us to the Hezekiah's tunnel, and then eventually to the 2004 site of finding the pool. So put all that together, and you have biblical truth and text being confirmed by archaeological evidence, first in 1880 in an inscription and some tunnel steps, and then 2004 a pool site. So once again, need of a water supply, and that is accomplished in Hezekiah's day. Well, what does that have to do with you and I? Well, we have to fast forward from the Old Testament to the New Testament now, to John's Gospel, chapter 9, where Jesus meets a man born blind from birth. And the way that Jesus chooses in that moment and in that encounter to heal that blind man and bring him sight is he gives him instructions to go and to the pool of Siloam. And so that pool means sent. Now I want us to consider that for just a moment. In the original language, that word Siloam means sent. And so in some ways, in the Old Testament, God had sent Hezekiah, put him in place at a specific time and a place with a specific time and a need, and provided there a water source. Years later, generations later, Jesus shows up in the city and meets a man at a particular time and place with a very specific need. And Jesus is going to be the means by which that man has his need met. Think about it. And so Jesus was sent in that moment, not only to that man that day, but ultimately to you and I and to the entire human race, because we all have a need. And Jesus is able to meet each and every one of our needs. Let that sink in. That's why he was sent. Jesus says that he was sent of the Father, sent on a mission. And that mission was for the needs that you and I have. So Jesus made a way then for this man to see from that water, that very same water that was coming from the Gihon spring outside the city wall in Hezekiah's tunnel, forming into the pool of Siloam. And here's the good news for you and I. Are you ready? God still makes a way for us to see. I think about that old standard hymn of the church, in many ways the anthem of the church, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was blind, but now I see. Come on. That's the good news, right? That we all once, prior to Jesus, were blind and in darkness and in our own stuff, in our bondage, in our prison, mostly of our own making, but not always. And yet, God makes a way for us to see, in that the light has come into the world, and that light is Jesus. And the Word of God bears witness to that. And my own testimony and experience bears witness to that. That before Jesus, I could not see, as it were. Was I physically blind like this man? No. But certainly I was spiritually blind. But Jesus removes the veil. Come on. And he made a way for me to see in a personal relationship with him. Wow. It's the best decision that I've ever made. Now, I really want to encourage you today that if you're struggling, if you're in a certain place, if you have a need, have you turned to Jesus? Or if you're on the other side of that and you already know Jesus, let me encourage your heart today to remember when you first met him. Remember that initial encounter. Remember that time maybe you knelt at an altar. Remember that time that you were at a kitchen table or on a living room couch or in your car and just cried out and prayed and experienced his presence just flooding you. Whatever that looks like for you. Wherever that was for you. For this man, it was at a pool. For you and I, it could be literally anywhere, right? And so I just want to encourage you to recount that moment and let your heart just be warmed all over again. And remember this, if he met your need then, I have to believe he'll meet your need now. Whatever that is, right? Ultimately, he meets our needs in that he saves us from ourselves. He saves us from the enemy. He saves us from sin, and he'll save us from whatever that thing is today. And so I just pray for you to allow yourself to be reminded of that generations ago, he made a way for Hezekiah's people. And that in the future would become such an important piece of a moment in the ministry of Jesus that we are able to look at today and see how Jesus met a man there and met his need, and then make that bridge to you and I today and where we are, and how that same Jesus is able to meet our need as well. God bless you today. Thanks for watching.